In this episode, we look through the Japanese lens of Shinto and Kaizen to rethink leadership and turn small, respectful steps into enduring change.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on, well, a really remarkable cultural expedition. We're doing a deep dive into the philosophy that really fuels, the modern high-performance engines of Japanese industry. We're looking at a place where ancient reverence for nature and quiet tradition, it doesn't just coexist with technology, it actually shapes the future.
It really does. It's a perfect case study, I think, in organizational sustainability. You see this pursuit of cutting-edge efficiency, but it's grounded in this deep cultural respect. Our mission today is really focused on two foundational principles that, well, together they explain this whole phenomenon, Shinto and Kaizen.
Right, that's the power duo we're unpacking today. And the goal for you, listening, is to understand how these twin pillars, one rooted in, let's say, spiritual harmony and respect, the other in this relentless incremental improvement, how they can translate into powerful lessons for modern leadership, no matter your industry, really.
Exactly. They form a complete system, you see. Shinto gives the culture its spirit. It establishes the necessary conditions for mutual respect, for harmony. Then Kaizen comes in and provides the action, the methodology, the discipline you need for continuous, purposeful progress. You really do need both for success that actually lasts.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with the foundation, the spirit. We have to begin with Shinto. Now, many global leaders might hear Shinto and think, religion, maybe dismiss it as something solely religious, but our sources show it's much more fundamental to daily life and business conduct too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Shinto is best understood not as a conventional faith with strict doctrines, but more as a way of seeing the world, a really profound worldview. It's founded on recognizing this inherent sacredness, the spirit or kami that's present in all things. That includes, mountains, rivers, trees, but also the tools used in a factory, even the factory itself.
So the natural world, even objects, they hold a presence. And to live well is to live in harmony with that presence. It's a beautiful concept, but I have to ask the executive question here. How does this reverence for invisible spirits, translate into corporate profit and governance?
Well, it translates directly into the fundamental understanding of value. If you respect the mountain, you respect the land you build your factory on. It's that simple, really. If you respect the spirit within the object, let's say, you respect the quality of the product you produce. And this is where Shinto becomes a system of value. It's not just politeness, not just bowing.
Ah, okay. So it's deeper than just manners or protocol. It means you actually value the longevity of the process, the materials, the people involved.
Precisely. And this reverence extends directly into the corporate culture. Relationships think about customers, suppliers, employees. They're treated almost like living entities. They have to be nurtured, respected, carefully maintained over the long haul. If a relationship is, a living thing, you can't just exploit it for short-term gain. It doesn't work. So every exchange, every meeting, every product carries this explicit intention of honoring the others involved and honoring the work itself. This deep systemic respect becomes the non-negotiable starting point for quality and for trust.
That sets the stage perfectly. So if Shinto establishes the spiritual context of why we should care about quality, then we move to section 2, which gives us the action plan. Kaizen. We hear this term thrown around a lot, but let's be precise. What is Kaizen really, beyond just translating to change for better?
Right. Kaizen is the action principle. It dictates how improvement must happen, and the key word is continuity. It's all about taking small, low-risk, easily implementable steps towards improvement. And crucially, it's not just a once-a-year planning session. It's done every day by everyone, from the factory floor right up to the boardroom.
What's really fascinating there, I think, is how sharply this contrasts with the Western, fetishization of disruption, you could say. Our sources talk about the American focus on the massive, disruptive, often really risky technological leap, the grand revolution that rewrites the market. Kaizen is explicitly not that. That seems like a real tension.
It is, and it's a critical distinction. Kaizen views that kind of big disruption as inherently stressful, often wasteful even, because it introduces sudden, massive risk. The core philosophy of Kaizen is that an organization should never, ever be satisfied with the status quo, but the correction, the improvement, should be surgical.
Yeah.
Small adjustments, not a revolution.
But doesn't avoiding those massive leaps eventually make you vulnerable? I mean, if you're only taking tiny steps, how do you possibly respond when a competitor suddenly takes a huge 10-foot leap?
Yeah, that's the classic challenge, isn't it? But the Kaizen philosophy actually offers a pretty deep defense. While Kaizen might not be the thing that invents the completely new radical technology that often comes from outside the daily process anyway, it ensures that when new tech does appear, your processes are already so honed, so streamlined, so adaptable that you can integrate that disruption faster and better than your competitors can. Kaizen is like this constant fight against entropy, against waste. It ensures maximum efficiency right at the foundation, meaning you can pivot really rapidly when you need to.
That's a fundamental reframing. It means perfection isn't some end goal you reach.
Exactly. And the philosophical takeaway here is critical. Perfection isn't a static state you achieve. It's more like a path you walk. It's the daily devotion, the commitment to getting just a little bit better. In a true Kaizen culture, the moment you think you're perfect, well, that's the moment you start to decline.
Okay, so we have the harmony from Shinto and the action from Kaizen. Section 3 is where we look at the powerful culture of excellence that emerges when these two principles really work together.
Yes, they create a kind of self-correcting system. Shinto's emphasis on harmony and respect makes sure that change happens thoughtfully. It respects the people doing the work, which, minimizes pushback. But then Kaizen ensures that this pursuit of harmony doesn't just slide into comfortable and, frankly, dangerous stagnation. Complacency. You have to move forward, but you do it gently, respectfully, and constantly.
And we see this balance showing up in specific operational practices that are pretty unique to the Japanese management structure, aren't they? This is where we bridge that abstract philosophy right down to the factory floor. Let's talk about Jidoka, for instance.
Right, Jidoka. It's often translated as automation with a human touch. The key principle, which our sources really highlight, is empowering any worker. Could be the newest person on the assembly line, could be the shift supervisor, empowering them to stop the entire production line if they spot an error or even just feel something's not right.
Wow, stopping the entire line. That sounds incredibly expensive. How is that decision justified within a Kaizen structure that's all about efficiency?
It's justified by the Shinto principle, respect for quality. The core belief is that fixing one small problem now, even if it costs 5 minutes of production time, is exponentially cheaper than letting that small flaw propagate into, say, 1,000 defective units reaching the customer. It shows profound respect for the process, the materials, and, ultimately the end user. Quality gets built in, not inspected out later.
That level of trust placed on the floor staff?
Yeah.
That's immense. It really transforms the worker from just a passive executor into an active problem solver, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And this emphasis on respect flows right into their decision-making processes, too. Look at Ringi. Ringi requires collective decision-making. A formal proposal document, the Ringi show, is circulated to all the relevant departments for review, for their stamp of approval, before any final decision is made. This ensures every perspective is heard and, crucially, respected.
This sounds, terribly slow, especially in today's fast-moving markets. Ringi seems like it would create major bottlenecks.
It can be slow, absolutely, which is why it's almost always paired with another critical practice, Nemawashi. Nemawashi literally translates to something like root binding, like preparing a tree carefully before you transplant it. It's all about the quiet, informal groundwork of building consensus before the formal Ringi proposal even gets circulated.
Ah, okay, so you do the hard work of getting buy-in sort of behind the scenes, in the hallways, over coffee, addressing disagreements privately first. Why is that quiet aspect so important?
It's crucial because it honors the hierarchy and, importantly, prevents anyone from losing face publicly. You don't spring a major decision on a senior manager unexpectedly in a formal meeting. That would be disrespectful. You make sure that when the formal decision time comes, it's essentially already ratified. Everyone feels respected because their input was sought, considered, maybe integrated ahead of time. It's the harmony, the Shinto part, ensuring the action, the Kaizen part happens smoothly and sustainably. This blend of spirit and structure. That's kind of the secret sauce, really, for sustained trust and innovation.
Okay, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, let's make it really actionable for the global executive listening right now, maybe thinking, how do I take these deep philosophical Japanese principles, Jidoka, Nemawashi, respecting kami, and integrate them into my organization that maybe operates on quarterly sprints? Our sources offer this powerful, practical framework, the 3H approach: head, heart, and hands.
Yes, the 3H approach is the bridge, really. It's the method for translating philosophy into actual practice. We start with the head, building awareness. Leaders first have to change their own perspective.
Wow.
They need to understand that respect and continuous improvement aren't just, nice-to-haves or soft ideals. They are strategic levers that genuinely reduce cost, increase quality, and improve loyalty.
And the head connects back to that Shinto idea of interconnectedness, doesn't it? It means teaching teams to see every single process, every person, as part of one interconnected system, like an ecosystem. If you mess up the beginning, the whole chain suffers downstream.
Exactly right. Then next we move to the heart, leading with empathy. Think about it. If Kaizen requires people to constantly change their habits, their processes, they absolutely must feel psychologically safe and valued. This means making respect a lived, felt experience every day, not just a policy written down somewhere in a manual nobody reads.
The heart part that demands recognizing effort, which I think is a huge hurdle in many Western organizations, obsessed purely with the final metric, the bottom line. We need to actually celebrate the small wins, recognize the process of improvement itself, and encourage that pride people feel when they genuinely do things right, even if the result isn't some massive jump in numbers.
Absolutely. That pride fosters the discipline you need for continuous improvement. It fuels the engine. And finally, we need the hands. Turning values into concrete action. This is the practical Kaizen component. This means literally implementing the mechanisms.
Okay, give us some concrete hand actions. What should a leader listening right now maybe do tomorrow morning?
Okay, first, run practical, short Kaizen sessions, maybe just 15 minutes. Get teams to identify one small improvement they can implement that day. Make it real. Second, really mandate that suggestions for improvement are invited, welcomed, and acted upon from every single level, not just from senior managers. If the person closest to the problem, maybe a line worker or a customer service agent, suggests an improvement, the organization needs to be structured to implement it quickly. Don't let it die in committee. And third, truly empower employees to stop, to question, and to improve. Quality stops being the sole job of the QA department and genuinely becomes everyone's daily active responsibility.
That really is a profound shift, isn't it? From top-down management to a kind of collective ownership of quality.
It is. And that leads us right into our final executive takeaways. For leaders listening, Shinto and Kaizen offer a truly timeless message, I believe. Lead with respect and improve with intention. This isn't just about short-term output, it's about long-term endurance.
Yeah, what really stands out to me in these sources is the absolute necessity for leadership modeling. You just cannot preach continuous improvement or respect if you, as the leader, are constantly chopping and changing priorities or showing impatience with the slow, sometimes painstaking, incremental nature of Kaizen. Leaders have to visibly walk the path every single day.
Couldn't agree more. And structurally, this means building systems that actually reinforce these principles. For example, encourage collaboration over fierce internal competition, because that kind of competition often runs directly counter to the spirit of collective harmony. You have to find ways to reward learning, maybe even thoughtful failure sometimes, not just flawless results. And every challenge, every problem, needs to be seen primarily as a chance to do things better, not just an excuse to panic and do something radically different without thinking it through.
It sounds like a deep commitment to lifelong organizational learning, built right into the DNA of the company.
That's a good way to put it. And the overall lesson really is that genuine, sustainable excellence is built in daily devotion, daily practice, not in the occasional high-risk burst of supposed genius. This balance is just, well, it's non-negotiable for the long term.
Progress without that foundation of systemic respect, without the Shinto spirit, let's say it's ultimately fragile, it's hollow, it just burns people out eventually.
Right. And on the flip side, systemic respect without that mechanism for steady progress, without Kaizen, well, that's just complacency waiting to be overrun by external forces. It's stagnation. Sustainable transformation, the kind that lasts, happens when harmony and improvement truly come together, not just for the business bottom line, but for the people who actually make up the organization.
So the provocative thought for you, our listeners, as we wrap up this deep dive, the deep transformation you might be seeking in your own organization, it has to start internally. It doesn't necessarily require a massive budget or some disruptive invention. What it requires is a quiet, deep commitment. It requires patience and that daily confidence to just commit to improving one respectful step at a time. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.